Hi, my name is Haftab, and in this video I'll just configure the FTD with the management IP on this device, and then we'll configure the basic settings, what is seen in the diagram from the FMC. So let me click this FMC. The default username is admin and the password is admin123 with A is uppercase. Right, so the moment you enter your password, it will ask you to accept the licensing, right? So once you answers or once you accept the license, you have to provide a new password, right? So I give Cisco 123 with C in uppercase. So you want to configure an IPv4, I say yes. You want to configure IPv6, no. IPv4 via DHCP or manual, whatever seen in the bracket is by default taken, so I'll just hit enter because I want to go with manual. So what is the IP address of the management, you want to give it here, right? I just give the basic IP address, the subnet mask and the gateway. So let me use the public come on. 8888 and 4222. So I want this in a routed mode. So this is, I'm sorry, so basically this is the only thing what we'll do from the CLI or from the console access of this particular device, and the next step would be like, tell this particular device where the FMC is, and once you do that, entire configuration would be done from FMC. There is no CLI actually, right? You cannot configure, or there is uh, no option to go to configure terminal from this particular console. And once that is done, you can only see some basic outputs of the commands, but you cannot configure anything from the CLI. Everything is been pointed to the FMC. Just give it a moment for this particular firewall to come up, because we just gave all the details what it was needed to basically get started, and just give it a moment. So as you can see that if I type show IP, I don't have any IP address configured, nothing, right? If I type config T, there is no option to go there. So what we will do is now here is we'll just tell where exactly our FMC is. So if I type configure manager add, now the IP address of our FMC, so 10.1.1.200, right? And then the registration key, so I'll just go with Cisco 123 and I hit enter, right? It might take a moment, and once you do this, the next step would be we just set the FTD where exactly the FMC is, and in order to associate or register this particular device, we have given them a registration key or the password as Cisco 123. Now we need to go to FMC and accept that, right, by confirming this thing. So if I type show managers here, show manager, the registration would be pending because it is not done on the other side, right? Now what I'll do is I'll just go to my host machine, right? Now as I said earlier, anything related to FMC would be done under the system menu, but now we are going to add this particular device, right? So if you go to the device and then the device management, this is where we'll spend most of the time in terms of configuration. So now I'll say go and add a device, right? So what is the host? This is 10.1.1 1.50. By the way, you have to give the management IP over here, right? So I said I want to name this as MAMLab FTD. Registration key should match what is given on the other side, right? Now, do you have a access group? No, then there is nothing. So let me just create a base policy, right? So this is where everything would fall under. So like this is the base or parent policy, you can say, for all the devices. Just give some name, right? By default it is select as block all traffic. It is also recommended by few of the experts to make it as intrusion prevention, but for now, because this is a lab environment, I'll just select block all traffic, right? Now once I selected the base, right, and I hit register, and once you register the device, you should see the status as completed over here. Because I just wiped this device, so I just need to check one moment. So as you can see that I don't have an option to select this, so I'll just cancel this for a moment, right? And then we need to go and enable the licenses. So everything or anything done to the FMC would be done on the systems. This is related to license, so we'll go to licenses and then smart licenses. Obviously this is my lab environment, so I'll just select the evaluation mode, right? Say yes, and once the evaluation mode is done, you can see that whatever the license you have here. Now we go back to the devices, device management. I'm sorry, add a device, and so let me select all these 3 types of licenses and hit register. As I said earlier, it might take a moment because I did not believe I did forget to enable the license, but yeah, it's a good thing that we got to know that. And once the device is done, you can see this, this is happening over here, and then from the CLI menu you can see that the registration is complete, and this is where we are. So let me minimize the screen, right? These are all so right now, just give it a moment, it is still coming up. So until that happens, I'll just go back to the topology once, right? So our idea is to configure all this particular interfaces, right? We'll give this the name of the zones. The IP address would end with .10, like so. For example, MAMLab Corp LAN, for this the subnet I'm using is 10.1.1.0/24. so the IP address of the FTD would end in .10, right? Similarly for the other zones. Just one moment. Once this discovery is complete, we can then quickly go and configure that, which is pretty easy. If you are aware of ASDM, it's more or less the same thing. The interface is slightly different, nothing more than that. Okay, now let me dismiss this, right? So let me edit this particular device, right? So now I have 4 interfaces. Now what I have to give, where I have to give, I just need to check that out. So I hope this is now visible. So now what I basically follow, even in the real time, what I have seen is wherever you have 0, right, remember as O as outside, and G0/1 as inside, what we use usually in the practice. So let me edit this interface for the outside. Right now I'll keep the mode to none. Name of this thing is, let's say, ISP. Let me take this as uppercase. Right, I need to enable this interface, right, which is basically shut no shut. I don't have any zone created, right? So give me the name as mamlab underscore outside, right? And let me copy this. Just give a meaning. So this interface connects to outside, or maybe like ISP, right? Now I'll leave the packet size to MTU size to 1500. Right now, then dot my IP address for the my ISP was 10.1.99.2. It's a /30. Then I'm not using IPv6. So I'll just keep all these things to the default, right? Again, I have just created this interface. It doesn't mean that this is applied, right? As you can see this here, if I type show IP, nothing has been assigned, right? So there is a process as to how we do that, right? So let's configure all the other interfaces quickly and then go for that. So I'm using this G0/1 for say inside, right? I need to enable this interface, and zone, I need to create a new zone and say mamlab corp LAN, as you can see in the diagram. 10.1.1.10/24. Rest all the configurations remain same. Then I have G0/2, which is DMZ network. I need to enable this, which is no shut basically. Then I'll create a new interface, mamlab DMZ. IP address was 10.1.2.10/24. By the way, you can go and give those descriptions, which I'm not giving it currently. G03 is mamlab guest, so you can say guest Wi-Fi. This is enable. I'll create a new zones. Guest Wi-Fi. I just created this two. Oh, sorry, I did not give an IP address. One moment. Let me edit that. 10.1.3.10/24, and then the fourth one is mamlab all vendors. Basically, in down the lab, we'll just create some remote sites, or maybe like access to external people. So I just gave that name as a vendors. Vendors, right? And then I go to IPv4 10.1.4.10/24. So this is now created, right? Which means we have just created this, right? You will see all these error messages, like the warnings to the failures regarding the health, because this is not yet connected to internet, right? So once we create that NAT policy, so it would then work. So currently whatever I have done, right, I have just done it on the device. It is not yet saved. So if I go to some other tab, I'll get a warning like this is not saved, do you want to go, right? So I'll just cancel it because I want to save what I have done. So I will just save this changes. Now saving this change is only on this particular device, right? Which means it is not yet taken place on the actual firewall. So if I type show IP, I don't have anything. all we need to do is we need to deploy the changes what we have done, right? So now if I go here and then deploy, so the moment, because we earlier added the firepower threat defense here, right? So now I'll just say select yes, I want to send all these changes what I've done to this particular firewall. So I've just selected that, and it will just give you an idea as to what you are sending all this through, right? So if I just say, you know, what are the different changes we are going to policy, so let me just say deploy, and usually it might take a minute, and you can see the status here. So it might take a moment, and then once it is done, we will see all the IP addresses here, right? I have not done the routing yet, right? I will do that in a moment, but I just wanted to show you that it might it is pretty easy. It's not some rocket science, like it's very hard to do that. It's very simple. And just imagine, like, you know, you have 20 firewalls in your organization, and you just have a single interface where you do everything and just push the policies, and the jobs becomes much easier. And by the way, this particular error message does not mean that there's a problem. It's more or less related with my hard drive, which is kind of faster than expected, in other words. So if I type show IP, it's not yet done, because as you can see in the background, it is sent only 80%. So once it is done, you will see a success. So deployment is done. Now I type show IP here, and voila, you can see that, you know, I have all these IP addresses, and I'm good to go with that. Correct. So let me just configure a default route, so I can go to, like, for example, I can do ping here, right? So if I just type 10.1.1.200, which is my FMC, I can ping it. But if I ping 8888 as an example, it will not work, because there is no route outside. So what we will do is we'll just go to the routing. Again, this goes under device management, select that particular device where you want to configure that routing, right? And I'm not running any layer in, you know, the different routing protocols. I'm just using a static route, and here I'll create a static route for my this thing. So obviously I need to go with my ISP side interface where I want to do it. The default network is anything on the IPv4, and I need to select the gateway here. Now basically this is nothing but an object where you have to create. So let me create a new object, right? So say ISP, or let's say we'll stick to the standard of mamlab ISP default, or maybe def route I'll just write, so make it easy, or default underscore route, right? Default route, so which would be, the next hop would be 10.1.99.1. let me just cross check that. 10.199.1, yes, and it's a host route, so I'll just say /32, right? I just created an object. Now you can see that, you know, the object would be listed here. I just selected the object and then say yes. Right now I just saved it. When I do it, no route, because I haven't deployed it. So the moment I select deploy, right, come on, if there are some changes, you will see it, the device listed here. And if I just expand this here, okay, so you can see that this kind of synchronization clock which is not complete. So if I just click details, so there is something, what you're doing is a static route entry which you are pushing it. Rest of them are already set, but this is what you are pushing it. So let me deploy. Until this happens, I'll just show you what is the configuration of my ISP router. Basically I'm using a CSR router in this particular Eve, and what basically happens is I've just connected one of my interface to my NATed adapter, right? You can see that this is coming via DHCP, and I have a default route to my next hop interface. Basically this is the IP address of my actual ASA firewall in my lab, right? Now what I have done is, if I type show interface G1, sorry, I meant show run interface G1. I'm running NAT on this particular interfaces. Show run interface G2, IP NAT outside. Then I've just created an access list. Show. Oh my god, what did I show an access list? So as you can, I just created an extended access list, IP access list called NAT, and I'm just allowing anything related to 10 subnet. Again, this is beyond the scope of this part, but I just wanted to show you how I'm running this section NAT. So I've just created IP NAT inside the source list, and I've just interfaces. So by that time, I believe the policy is already post, and if I just do 8888, and sure enough, I can reach it right now. Let me just do some more basic policies in another videos. I believe we have already crossed 20 minutes on this particular part, so I'll continue in my next video. Thank you for watching.